Where are the International Criminal Court's arrest warrants against Israeli leader Benjamin Netanyahu and his defence minister Yoav Gallant? It's now been 3 months since the chief prosecutor of the ICC, Karim Khan, requested arrest warrants against the two Israeli leaders for war crimes and crimes against humanity, as well as 3 Hamas leaders. It is then left to the pre-trial chamber of the ICC with 3 judges to accept and issue these arrest warrants. Now, in the case of the Russian President Vladimir Putin, an arrest warrant request over the invasion of Ukraine was submitted on the 22nd of February 2023. That was accepted by the pre-trial chamber with arrest warrants issued on the 17th of March 2023. So that's 23 days later. It's now been 101 days since the ICC chief prosecutor issued requests for arrest warrants in relation to Israel and Palestine, so over 4 times the length of time and counting. Since then, Israel has continued on a daily basis to perpetrate some of the worst atrocities of the 21st century, including atrocities which qualify as the worst kind of crimes which humans can possibly commit against other humans. So I am going to ask, is the Israeli state blackmailing or threatening the ICC, and specifically the 3 judges in the pre-trial chamber? Now, this might seem like tinfoil hat conspiracism, but I've always been on that wing of the left that tries to keep away from unjustified conspiratorial thinking and stick to the facts. That doesn't mean conspiracies don't happen. They very much do. Just claims about them shouldn't be plucked out of thin air. I'm not doing that, as we will see. I will make the case for why we should at least consider what I'm setting forth here. Now, first of all, I would note, before I go on to that 6 days ago, the ICC chief prosecutor wrote to the 3 judges to implore them to issue the arrest warrants. These 3 judges are Judge Iulia Matoch from Romania, Rain Alapino Gansu from Benin, or Rain Alapini Gansu, Nicolas Guillou from France. Now, his application notes that the International Court of Justice, the world's highest court, ruled that Israel's continued presence in the occupied Palestinian territories is unlawful, and that includes Gaza. He notes the tens of thousands of Palestinians killed, the massive destruction of civilian infrastructure, and the mass displacement of the overwhelming majority of the population. Israel, he notes, has deprived the Palestinian population of objects indispensable to their survival. He also notes this didn't begin on the 7th of October. In fact, he refers to survivors making that case, and that the case continues from an ICC investigation, which has been ongoing since 2021, that precedes his tenure as chief prosecutor, with the situation being referred to the court since 2018. He emphasises that it is settled law that the court has jurisdiction on this situation. We'll come on to that. But this is on the grounds that Palestine is a member state of the court, and that its jurisdiction, the court's jurisdiction, extends over the occupied Palestinian territories, with the Oslo Accords no bar to that investigation. The Oslo Accords, which are dead in any meaningful sense, negotiated, of course, back in the 90s, a supposed peace agreement between Israel and Palestine, often presented as an excuse to suggest that the court doesn't have jurisdiction, which has no legal foundation, and he goes into great detail about why that's true. Now, the investigation is urgent because, as this statement notes, the situation in the occupied Palestinian territories, including Gaza, is catastrophic, owing in large part to the ongoing criminality described in the applications. He notes the relevant article of the court statute that the arrest of persons named in applications appears necessary to prevent them from continuing with the commission of that crime or a related crime which is within the jurisdiction of the court and which arises out of the same circumstances. He says this is manifestly evident in this situation where victims are struggling with death, hunger and disease. The court, he emphasises, must act now because time is running out for the people of Gaza. It should be noted that the previous British Tory government of Rishi Sunak submitted a wrecking attempt on the grounds the ICC did not have jurisdiction, even though, as the chief prosecutor notes, that is a nonsense. Now, the Labour government has rightly dropped that. It turns out losing parliamentary seats because of your complicity in genocide can indeed yield results. However, the ICC pre-trial chamber granted the British government's request a chance to be heard when it could have been dismissed, given it is groundless, and that is worrying. Why did they do that? Now, this brings me on to the question of blackmail, threats. Back in May, It was revealed in The Guardian that Yossi Cohen, the former head of Mossad, allegedly threatened the previous chief prosecutor of the ICC in secret meetings to try and pressure her into abandoning an investigation into alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity in occupied Palestinian territories. Now, according to The Guardian, early this year, his activities were authorised at a high level and justified on the basis the court posed a threat of prosecutions against military personnel, according to a senior Israeli official. Another Israeli source briefed on the operation against the former chief prosecutor Ben Suda, saying the Mossad's objectives were to compromise the prosecutor or to enlist her as someone who would cooperate with Israel's demands. He is alleged to have told her, "You should help us and let us take care of you. You don't want to be getting into things that could compromise your security or that of your family." Cliched bad guy in a film, isn't it? It's just not even, it's not subtle, it's crude. Gangster, baddie in a film, one-dimensional baddie in a film. Now, to quote The Guardian, the Mossad also took a keen interest in Ben Suda's family members and obtained transcripts of secret recordings of her husband, according to two sources with direct knowledge of the situation. I mean, Israeli officials then attempted to use the material to discredit the prosecutor. It's very much nice family you've got there. Shame if anything happened to them. Now, this was about far lower stakes. It's about the chief prosecutor opening up an investigation into alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity. This was before Israel's genocidal onslaught against Gaza, in which Israel's position internationally has disintegrated as Western public opinion shifts against it, piling pressure on an increasingly ostracised state as it commits heinous atrocities against the Palestinian people. Israel is now acting like a desperate cornered animal. We know how Netanyahu and his cabal responded to the ICC chief prosecutor's request. Netanyahu denounced him as one of the great anti-Semites in modern times, just destroying the meaning of anti-Semitism. Which is, again, I go on about this a lot, it's just the irresponsibility of doing that, when anti-Semitism is very, very much real and rising. He said that the action was callously pouring gasoline on the fires of anti-Semitism that are raging around the world. It just underlines the kind of aggression and anger, and therefore, I would suggest his determination to do something about it. Yoav Gallant, the defence minister, said it was a disgraceful attempt to interfere in the war. Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich declared, "We have not seen such a show of hypocrisy and hatred of Jews like that displayed by the court in The Hague since Nazi propaganda. The Nazis also spoke in the name of morality, and there was nothing there besides anti-Semitism." I should say that Benjamin Netanyahu himself compared the chief prosecutor to the Nazi judges of the 1930s who persecuted the Jewish people. So they're just making direct comparisons with the Nazis as they commit heinous war crimes and genocide. Now, if the arrest warrants are issued, this will be a huge blow to the state of Israel. Not because they'll suddenly have their leaders arrested, if only. I would imagine they would just avoid travelling abroad. It would open up the question of criminal culpability for those who cooperate with Israel's genocidal onslaught. It would deepen the isolation of the Israeli state and help further push public opinion into demanding governments cease arming Israel and providing it with crucial diplomatic support and aid as it commits war crimes and crimes against humanity. Now, these are high stakes. So do we really think the Israeli state would have gone to all that effort to menace the former chief prosecutor, but now when actual arrest warrants loom over Benjamin Netanyahu and his defence minister, they're just going to be hands off? Really? I'm sceptical. I'm going to put it that way, and I think the truth will out, and I think it's worth discussing. I would note that the chief prosecutor's case received the extensive simultaneous backing of top lawyers, which was published on the same day, setting out the overwhelming legal case. And I'll also note, though, that, well, if there's any justice, many charges are still pending. From the genocidal bombing campaign to the question of torture, for which there's overwhelming evidence, the original arrest warrant centres on the question of starvation. Now, I would note that yesterday, talking about starvation, the Israeli state's army fired on a World Food Programme convoy in Gaza, which had received multiple clearances from the Israeli military authorities. It was clearly marked as it moved towards an IDF checkpoint. That has led to the World Food Programme suspending its work. I bet Israel's absolutely devastated that the World Food Programme has suspended its work in assisting the desperately hungry people of Gaza after its forces accidentally on purpose fired at that convoy. I think that really does underline, does it not, the basis of the original request for arrest warrants. Though we know Israel is desperate. It has committed some of the worst crimes of our age, but it is losing on its own terms. It's not won its war aims. We know Mossad has a long, gruesome history in order in terms of achieving Israel's aims. We know Mossad has a history of menacing the ICC. We know that Israel's position is globally in a lot of trouble. So given the stakes here, given the delay, you've got to wonder, whatever the truth, this delay is unacceptable. Palestinians are being slaughtered every day that the ICC doesn't act. That must be exposed, as must be, at the same time, expose the criminal complicity of Western leaders who've allowed this monstrosity to continue and facilitated it every step of the way. Please like and subscribe. I want to hear your thoughts, your comments. Help us keep the show on the road at patreon.com/owners84. Listen to the podcast. Speak to you soon.